Ah, for... LIBER SPUD! Oh, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, am I fucking excited today. We have none other than Duncan Barford on the line. Hello, Duncan.
Hi, Spud.
You're very welcome to, I believe we're calling this LIBER SPUD. I don't know, what do you think of that name?
Excellent. It was a bit informal.
Yeah. We were, well, it wasn't mostly me. Tommy was asking me, what are you going to call it? And I was like, I have no bloody idea. He came up with all these great names. And LIBER SPUD was the funniest. So I was like, yeah, it has to be LIBER SPUD, you know, because it's ridiculous. But, you know, also... It's
got to be an acronym for something. I don't know what.
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. We can get all geomantic on it, can't we? Just pile a whole lot of numbers in there and see what we get out of it. Isn't that one of the funnest parts of Magic, isn't it? It's just it's kind of putting your own symbology on things and looking for stuff. Whether it's there or not, there's a lot of fun in looking for it, isn't there?
Yeah. I mean, that's the whole Helia thing, isn't it? You know, getting drawn into that kind of insanity where everything means something.
Yeah.
Have you checked out the gematria for SPUD?
No, for SPUD I haven't. Stupidly. I've looked at my name, Patrick, all right, Patrick Murphy and stuff. I'm giving out my name. Do you want my credit card number here as well while I'm at it? 729. No, I haven't actually. I must do that. That's on my to-do list now for today. Helia was good. I was reading your article about it, and you were saying that because they put on the God helmet, you were saying like all this stuff is kind of pointless because they should just do an invocation or a possession type thing, you know?
I mean, that was my take on it. You know, they're doing all this technological stuff, aren't they? Like the what's it called? The SD's method, where they put noise cancelling headphone and someone's reciting in real time what they're getting off a ghost box, and then they do that other working, don't they, where they've got the guy with the ghost box saying what he's hearing, who can't hear anyone else, and then someone else is wearing a god helmet, so they're in an altered state, and and you've got all these like layers of technology, and I'm just like, just put a bag over your head and get possessed, for God. Because that's what it's approximating to in the end, isn't it? It's like an altered state and somebody saying random shit.
Yeah. Exactly. I'd still like to give the God box a go. You know, I was even looking up things like how to build one. There's PDFs online where you can, but it's like, that costs far too much money. I'm not doing that. Yeah, I think you're right. Just a bag over the head and, smoke some weird things or eat. You don't even have to. But just close your eyes and
I mean, that's the whole arc of Helia, isn't it? I mean, they start off as paranormal investigators with their EMF meters and all that sort of thing, and they just get drawn, inexorably into the occult, into basic occult stuff.
What's your make then on the end of season 2 when they go down into the cave and they're evoking Pan? Because like Tommy and I have come to the conclusion that because they kind of leave the cave going, well, shit, nothing happened, but the possibility is there that maybe it's Pan who wants this offering and it's nothing to do with the Helia guys. Well, not that it's nothing to do with them, but it's that it was all leading up to Pan wanting something rather than them getting anything.
My sense is at the end, towards the end, there's all this stuff about the Star Sapphire ritual code, isn't there? And there's also 418 starts to come up, and the Great Work. That's there as well. I think they're being led into the Great Work, basically. I don't know where they're going to take it. I don't know, whether they're going to go anywhere with that. I mean, the thing about the Star Sapphire ritual is it's a sex magic working, isn't it? And
the math doesn't add up, does it? Because there's a husband and wife and 2 other guys, and it's like, okay, season 3 is going to be freaky.
Yeah, and you can see them sort of stepping around that in the last episodes. They all know it's a sex magic working, but there's no sort of discussion about that. And I mean, that's a bit strange in itself because, isn't that where all great magical workings kind of end up.
It is where they all end up, you know.
I'm thinking of Dean Kelly, and why is it that happens?
Don't know. I mean, like when I'm not into all this stuff very long. It's about a year or so we started the podcast, and I came into it kind of being right. I'll be open-minded, but now I'm balls deep in it. And within within a couple of weeks, I was like, you're reading up on sex magic, and going, God, do I have to? And then you're like, okay, I might try some things, but I'm not telling anyone. And then you're like, okay, that kind of worked. That didn't work. Okay, okay, yeah, okay. Now what do I do? I just have to be a pervert? Yeah, all right, cool. I just don't want to tell anyone. No, I'm just talking to myself.
But I think that's what's happening. They're being drawn into the great work. I mean, of course, I'm going to say that, aren't I? But I think that's where it's going. And it's just interesting to watch that arc. I mean, I think that's what makes Hellier so interesting, so relevant. You know, they start off as paranormal investigators doing the old sort of pseudoscience shtick, and you can see the occult kind of extending its tendrils and drawing them in. I mean, I was hearing somebody the other day saying they couldn't watch it. It was like watching a load of people go crazy. I can't remember who it was who was saying that. You know, just watching people get drawn into that world where everything means something.
Yeah.
Oh God, and they're so daft at the beginning, aren't they? They're just so clear.
There's the listeners will know I have a thing kind of against Jonathan Peugeot. I accuse him of layering too much symbolism on top of things because he's just kind of desperate to put them there to show off intelligence, you know. But at the same time, we're going to be talking about a documentary soon, me and Tommy, Room 237, with Stanley Kubrick's version of The Shining, where they get the director gets 4 different people to give their opinions on what the meanings behind the Shining are. So it's like, for example, there's one guy, it's like it's for sure it's about the American genocide of the Native Americans. Another guy, it's about World War II. Another one is about the Minotaur, and it's like, so I think the difference for me in two things like that, say Peugeot and a documentary like that, is that someone is layering something from kind of what he wants to see, whereas other people are like, well, this is in the movie, so this means this. You get me? Mm-hmm. So Hellier is like that as well, because they're doing all these experiments, they're going to places, they're seeing things, and then they're putting the symbolism on it. But like, there's a thin line between going too far.
Yeah, I mean, it starts to kind of spill out into reality, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, they start off and they're going crazy over these synchronicities they're getting. You know, somebody they get the word tin can off one of the SD sessions that they do. You know, then they go into a cave and there's a tin can. You know, and they're like, "Oh, tin can." But as it goes on, they do get some really freaky ones, don't they? Like when they find that kind of balloon in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
You know, that is really actually quite freaky.
There was a point as well. Tommy turned me onto it. He said, "Watch this, you'll think you like it." And the first couple of episodes, I was like, "This is nonsense. What's this synchronicity?" I didn't even know what synchronicities were. I was like, "What the fuck is this shit? What? Some Twitter thing? Come on!" And then then the red balloon comes on. You're like, what? Okay, you got me. And then I'm like, all of a sudden I'm buying Carl Jung books, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. You know, where you been all my life? Come here, I wanted to talk to you a bit about a bit more about your professional stuff just for a minute, rather than the magic book. You had studied psychoanalytic studies and then psychodynamic psychotherapeutic counseling. So can you explain kind of what they are, especially the second one? What's psychodynamics?
Yeah, it was psychodynamic counselling is basically what psychoanalysis became. So you got your man Freud with all the Oedipus complex and the sex stuff and all that, and it's basically what that has become. You know, these days. I mean, don't tend to be so hot on all the mother stuff and all of that these days. Oh. But that general idea of there being an unconscious. The idea that what determines our lives to a large extent is stuff we're not aware of. And that's the thing that Freudian stuff is like bequeathed to the current world of therapy. So yeah, it's so psychodynamic is working with that basically. That the stuff that is challenging and problematic in life is is to a large extent what we're not aware of, and using.
Sorry to interrupt you. There's a lot of it comes from like when we're pre-verbal, when we're kids and we don't know and we don't have the words, and something happens. I don't know, your dad hits you or your mom hits you, and you're scared of an authority figure kind of then, but you don't.
Yeah.
You can't process it because you're like you don't have words.
That's it. Yeah, and the things we get in childhood, they form patterns for our relationships. So if the situation you're talking about, you're going to grow up with certain assumptions about how people treat you, and how you. It's not like these things are written in stone, but they kind of guide us in how we've made our ways through life. So it can be helpful to bring those into awareness, and if they're in awareness, and we've got a chance of doing something different.
So what's your opinion then on say like things like Carl Jung's and his collective unconscious? Is it a thing or?
Yeah, I struggled with Jung for a long time. The problem I had with Jung was, reading his writings. So he's got the thing about the archetypes, but there's always this idea in Jung that the archetype is as far as you can go. So, my understanding of Jung was, you got the archetype of God, and that's it. So the ultimate experience you could have is to connect with that archetype. There's nothing beyond that. There's no reality that we can call God. There's just this like representation in the unconscious. So I always used to have a problem with Jung, but then of course the Red Book came out. That changed everything. I mean, when I was studying Jung, the Red Book wasn't out. There were these rumours that there was this book somewhere that the kind of inner circle knew about, but it just wasn't available. And I mean, reading that puts everything into a different light. I mean, he was a magician, and I think what he was doing was with the archetypes and that he's saying, this is how we approach psychology. When we talk about this stuff, we have representations in the mind, and that's as far as we can go in psychology. But Jung himself was going beyond that. He was a mystic, and the Red Book makes it very clear that he was having awakening experiences. He was having experiences of intimate contact with the divine as a reality. And there's the Peter Kingsley book, Catafalque. He really makes that explicit. I think that Jung was he played a kind of game where he was walking a line between science and mysticism. And I think he was just trying to be a scientist as a means of having some respectability of being heard, but at the same time he was a true mystic, I think.
Do you think? Yeah, because look, I wouldn't know nearly as much about him as what you would. This is your field of study and expertise. I'm just a randomer with a microphone. It kind of seems that over the last 10 or so years, he's definitely been embraced a lot more by the occulty type people. Do you think when it comes to say psychoanalysis and that, is this going to do harm, or eventually do you see this maybe it'll do him some good, because maybe within the next 5-10 years or whatever, maybe people will start to come back to Jung and say, actually there's more here than what we thought first looking at Jung?
Yeah, it's a big question. I mean, there's this whole question around spirituality and therapy and how the two match up. And I think Freud's psychoanalysis, it's good for day-to-day stuff. It's good for dealing with everyday life issues that people have. But Jung's there for the wider stuff about what life means and where people feel they're going in life, and that stuff's important. I think a lot of therapy is about helping people explore the meaning of their life, and if you feel that what you're going through has a meaning, then you can deal with it. You could be going through the most horrible sufferings. You could be ill or something like that. But if there's a sense for you that has some sort of meaning, that has some sort of direction, then you can bear it. I think it's when things feel meaningless that people struggle. And you can see the relevance of magic to that as well, can't you? There are therapeutic dimensions to magic. Magic makes your existence meaningful, and that's worth so much. I mean, when you think about it, what else is there? So, and I think that this is the dimension that Jung, particularly brings in. I mean, Freud was a rationalist, was a Darwinist. For him, it was all very materialistic. We're organisms on a planet struggling to survive, and that's why sexuality is such a big thing for Freud, I think, because that's how our innermost life for him tends to express itself. But Jung's got that dimension of meaning, of spirituality, and that's been kind of coming into therapy progressively over the years, like with the mindfulness thing. The idea that meditation has a therapeutic dimension to it. I mean, I'm sort of quite reserved about that, because I mean, the meditation practice stuff that I've done, magic, it leads you into difficult territory. Yeah, it can make your life more meaningful, but it also presents you with stuff that can be pretty challenging and pretty terrifying.
You don't want to have clients coming to you who are like, I think I have some mother issues or something. Oh, well, okay, just sit right there. Let's have a look at the tree of life, and I'm going to give you your long dark night of the soul. You will cross the abyss and meet Karanzan, but then your mother issues, it won't matter. This will take 5 to 7 years at least.
This is what happens when you meditate. The dark night is an inevitability. I mean, like, say from the perspective of mindfulness, you're having some distressing thoughts. So you practice your mindfulness, and you see that they're just thoughts, and that's good. I don't have to worry about this stuff. It's just thoughts. But if someone's got a bit of a flair for meditation, or if somebody really carries that to where that's going to go, then suddenly you're like, shit, my life is just thoughts. Everything is just thoughts. Yeah. Oh my God, everything's meaningless. Everything's empty. There's no reality out there. I'm just awash in a sea of thoughts. And then, that's classic dark night territory, isn't it?
Yeah. And it can lead, it definitely can lead to, incredible nihilism then. Yeah. Because, not livers, I don't give a shit. I'll just kill everyone. or not even, you harbor thoughts of this. You're like, and you're just like, I've been there. You find yourself just, fantasizing about the damage and wreckage that you can just lay waste upon the world, and you can have a giggle to yourself about, but like, you have to pull yourself back and just go, whoa, what the fuck, calm the fuck down,
Yeah, so something, that sets off with the best of intentions, and that is therapeutically useful to a certain extent. If you go beyond that, then you're into realms, like you're saying, nihilism, depression. It's supposed to be there to cure depression, but you can end up more depressed. The sense that you're just trapped in your own thoughts, which is very much part of the dark night experience.
I'd love, we've spoken about this on a podcast before. Both me and Tommy have gone through different therapies and stuff, and kind of looking back now, I kind of wish I had known more about Jungian and Freudian kind of things. I don't know a lot, but I know more now than I did 6 or 8 years ago when I was doing it, because I think I would have been not testing the therapist, but I would have been like, okay, let's go fucking deeper here, let's get to the bottom of this, because the lady I had, she was great at just planting little seeds towards the end of sessions, and then I would spend the next 2 or 3 days just going, what the fuck was she fucking, how dare she say that? And then ping, if on the 3rd or 4th day, I'd have this la moment where I'd go, that's what she's on about. I'm a terrible person, and now I know why. Now I can fix it, And if I could have gone back, kind of armed with it, right? Let's get to the bottom of this. Let's here's more money. Here's more money. We'll stay for 3 or 4 hours. But I know at the same time, it would have been harrowing to get to the bottom of a lot of those kind of issues that you have.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know, Spud, but that sounds pretty good to me. What she was doing. There's no point telling people what's going on, is there? So your issues are all about this, but giving people seeds. And then it's important for people to make those connections themselves. I mean, if it's you making the connection, then it's real, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
There's no point telling people stuff.
Yeah,
I mean, they never listen.
No, they don't. People have to kind of. You can hint at them, and you can look. You can tell them straight out, but they don't want to listen. But maybe it'll just plant this seed, and it'll sprout eventually. Because you wrote something. There was an article I came across last night, and it was written about 6 months after your enlightenment, and you were talking about the 3 types of walkers. Let me see. I have it written down here. You have the walker in passion, the walker in hate, and the walker in infatuation. infatuation, and how, what do I have here, and how the itch to tear down and be skeptical as an initial reaction to new ideas really wasn't helpful after enlightenment. It's good before because, in your Baptist head days, you were like exploring different avenues and methods, quickly, and to make like good decisions about, right, I'll try this. No, I don't like it. I'll try this. It's working. Let's keep doing it, and then maybe run into problems. But like as you say, then after awakening, then you can't tear down this emptiness. I suppose is the way you describe it. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. I think it's just different dispositions that people have towards the world. So those categories. What was it? The walker in joy, the walker in hatred.
Yeah, walker.
That was it, wasn't it? Yeah.
Infatuation.
Yeah. I mean, so I'm very much a walker in hatred. I don't really understand anything until I start attacking it.
I'm the same. You're just speaking to my heart here.
Yeah.
I have to find the problem. If I see something, I go after the biggest problem in it and attack that. And if I can't kill it, then I say, he might be onto something. We've had this discussion about Kingsley loads of times on the podcast. I've never even read his books, but I've watched tons of his stuff, and I just go. At first, nobody likes Kingsley, nobody, and then you finally realize what he's on about, and you go, I get it,
Yeah, no, I'm the same. So if anything's good, I have to give it a kick in. To check that it is really, really good. That's just the way my mind works.
You're like these old Irish farmers when when somebody buys a new tractor, the first thing they do is they kick the shit out of the tires. It's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
It's a brand new tractor, man. You don't need to kick the tire. Oh, well, I have to test it, see if it's any good. It's fucking hell, man. 60, 70 grand's worth of a tractor, and you're focusing on the fucking wheels. Sorry, rural Ireland never leaves me.
So exactly the same thing with my awakening experience. There it is. There's this thing that's pristine, amazing, untouchable, ultimate. There it is, just hovering in front of me. And it can't be. No. It can't be real. This can't be. No. What is this? Have I broken my brain? Am I deluded? Attack, and just. I remember ending up in a totally distraught state. I remember the first time as well that I experienced, I think what the Buddhists call emptiness. So I got up one morning, sat down to meditate, and there was something different. I was like, what's this? And, suddenly something had come into awareness that wasn't a thought, wasn't a feeling. Didn't feel like it was anything to do with my experience. Felt like it was something completely outside of experience. And I'm like, what the fuck? What am I meant to do with this? What am I meant to do now? Because suddenly I'm sitting there and whatever I've sat on the cushion to do, suddenly this thing's there and it's redundant. There's nothing to do. There's nowhere to go. Can't do anything with this thing.
Yeah,
what the hell? And I'm having a meltdown.
It's one of those things. It's so hard to explain. I had a similar thing not too long ago.
Right.
It was like a transmission thing, a bit like what Alan Chapman speaks about in your Baptist Head book with an Indian man on the tube, I think, in London. And it was a very, very similar experience. I was waiting on a blood test in a hospital. The listeners have heard this, so I'll try and do it as quick as I can for you. A man came in, and they do this thing in Poland where usually, like, the last person who walks into a waiting room will ask, who was the last person? And everyone kind of looked around and they didn't know. And then I realized, it's me. So I said, it's me, yeah. And then he said, okay, I'll sit beside you. Or you sit opposite me. So he sat opposite me. And he was this lovely, kind of joyful, pudgy man, like Friar Tuck kind of character. And he sat down. And I just thought, he's lovely. And then he sat down and he opened his briefcase and he had this gold leaf page Bible and started reading the Bible. And next thing, I nearly called you Alan, sorry. Next thing, Duncan, my brain just went, and I felt like crying, but happy. But I also felt other. There was an otherness to this. It lasted a few days. Like it lasted. There was even this weird thing. I didn't mention this to Tommy because it felt so weird. I haven't even told the wife. I didn't even feel like, when you're talking to yourself in your head, I didn't even feel like calling myself a name. I felt like saying we instead of me all the time. And that feels weird. I'm like, I'm like the queen, with the royal we. And it was a very bizarre thing. But I kind of knew then that what I was going through everyone's going to be fine. I just felt like the universe was giving me a big hug and saying, "Spud, don't worry," you know?
Yeah.
Very bizarre. And like reading your books, trying to achieve enlightenment, or awakening, with Chapman, there was always these passages where you would write about emptiness, and I could never get it in my head what this meant. I was like, what the fuck are they talking about? This doesn't make any sense. How can it be an emptiness when this is the main goal of like, no. And I knew, like, okay, a lot of people, when they come into, or when they hear about awakening and enlightenment first, they think it's this constant bliss or whatever, but then you learn quickly, no, it's not that at all. It's this kind of deep understanding of just where you are and what you are and the nature of you, or what you think is you, maybe would be a better way of saying it. But like, it was just this very, very hard to explain it unless you've tasted a little bit of it, and then you're like, oh, I like that. Yeah, when once you kind of get used to it a bit, then it's fleeting, it's gone. You know, well, not for you because you're fully awake.
Well, yeah. Is there such a thing? I mean, you know, back in the Baptist Head Day when I had that experience, I mean, we were following Daniel Ingram's maps.
Yeah.
And he's got this idea of 4 paths, and there were very much 4 shifts that I went through. So then I was thinking, you know, this must be it. I'm an arahat, you know. Those 4 paths were very distinct, but I've had awakening experiences since then. So I don't know. I mean, my suspicion now is it just keeps on going. You know, there's just level after level after level. And you know, looking at stuff now, Alan talks about things where I think to myself, I'm not sure I've ever seen that. Daniel Ingram sometimes mentions things where I'm sort of thinking, yeah, I don't know if I've had that. So I think there's more to come.
Well, that's great then. Surely, yeah, no, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Rudolf Steiner, I think, has this idea. It just keeps rolling up and rolling up. You know, human consciousness is just gonna develop and develop and develop. You know, there's going to be levels above levels. You know, Ken Wilber says something similar. You know, there's always somebody who's reached some level that's beyond, you know, where you are. You know, there's always somebody like that. So yeah, I think that empty experience, you know, that you talked about, that sort of transpersonal awareness, that becomes more present, I think, over time. You know, it's more available. Sometimes it disappears, you know. I think it becomes less and less relevant to you whether it's there or not. I don't know, Spud.
Look, Duncan, I definitely have no fucking idea. I mean, like, just reading those 3 old books, they were the ones, because, you know, you read them and you're like, right, this is mad crack, because here's 2 lads who have just decided, yeah, they want to become enlightened, awake, have awakening, full awakening, and they just fucking go for it. And, you know, I was flying through the books, but every now and again, you guys would mention another book, and I'd say, fuck it, okay, I'm going to stop with this book, and I'll go off and I'll read that, and then I would do that. Except with Ingram's was hard for me, and until I picked it up again. I just had to go off and learn a bit more about Buddhism before tackling it, because it was about 50 pages in going, I have no fucking idea what's going on. But then people send me some other stuff about Buddhism, and okay, now I have a clearer idea on it. But yeah, but the point is that, like, you guys were like, well, look, if fucking Aleister Crowley can do this, you know, anyone can do it. So we're going to go into it. And then, you know, I was reading them after Tommy had told me to read them. And I was like, Tommy, why don't we do this? Like, I mean, if they can do it, we can do it. You know what I mean? Now, I have no idea where I am on the stages, other than like, well, no, I kind of do have an idea. What am I saying? I'm not going to bullshit you. I've had the HGA experiences. I presume I'm at the abyss now. But like, in the transmission thing would mean I'm there, but at the minute I'm a bit kind of distracted, because I'm just like, oh look, there's a new shiny book, I'll read that about this, or there's this other thing. Like, I bought these I Ching books and the I Ching cards, and I'm like, why did I do that? I don't need them. You know, it's just, you're kind of feels like I'm at a place where I'm putting it off, because I'm just like, I don't want to talk to Karanzan. I don't want to ignore Karanzan. You know, and the Dark Night of the Soul, I was like, I have to go through that again. I did that years ago. I don't want that again. That was horrible. You know, I have 2 kids now. I can't be staring death in the face.
I think Ingram's thing about the cycles is on the money. You know, I think these things, it's a cycle. You just go through it again and again and again. I mean, I've done some retreats recently, and I've been absolutely pasted during those. You sort of think, yeah, well, I've done a few dark nights, that's it, they're not a problem now. But I've been sideswiped recently on retreats. Sometimes it can be tough. But I think over time, you learn to recognise the signs a bit more and understand where you are, and also understand that it will pass eventually, and that there is always something waiting on the other side of that.
I suppose it's identifying where you are and saying, right, I've been here before in similar territory. It might feel a bit harder, but I've done this already. I can get through it.
Yeah. And I think the important thing is just to keep doing the work. That's always the most important thing. I mean, me and Alan, when we started doing this, we just went for it. We really, really went for it. I think that's what you got to do. I mean, I was meditating 2 hours a day. I was getting up at 5 in the morning to do yoga. I was got mantras going in my head all day, while I'm at work. Really, really just pasting it. And I think that's the important thing, just to keep doing the work. Doesn't matter what you read, you know what you got to do.
Yeah. That's the thing. It's just these, I'm like a fucking magpie. Just shiny object, woohoo, while like the real work is standing behind me, going, hey, tapping his watch, going, hey man, what the fuck, Oh, I have one thing to ask you about awakening, and I hope the answer is yeah. No, if I get there, and probably will eventually. Like, am I still going to like football?
Yeah.
Oh, thank God. That'd be terrible.
Definitely, yeah. Like, because like we were talking about, all that stuff's still there. It didn't go anywhere. I mean, it makes sense when you think about it. Like, the Buddha teaching there is no self. And if there is no self, then there is no self. It's not like there is one and then it goes away. Yeah. It's like, no, there is no self. So what you're experiencing now is that. It is that. It's not like there is something and it goes away. It's already gone. And it's just understanding how that is the case. So nothing changes. Your ego doesn't go away. Your personality doesn't go away. It's all still there. But there are changes over time, I think. And it's something slow and it's something subtle. Like, looking back on my life now, and thinking about the sort of work I do now as a therapist, and I couldn't have done that. I couldn't have done that years ago. But how I've got from there to here, is, I don't know, difficult to say. Slow, gradual,
Does that come from this? But do you think that comes particularly, say, from the Buddhist, metta type of meditation, the compassion stuff?
Yeah, I think so, maybe. I mean, back in the day when I was studying psychoanalysis, I did it as an academic thing. I never thought it would be something that I would want to practice or be able to practice. I always had this idea that if I was in a room with somebody who's, talking about their stuff, I always had this feeling that I'd be overwhelmed by it. It's like, oh God, how can you deal with people's depression or madness or anxiety? How can you deal with that? But, that's not where I find myself now.
Do you have a hard time adjusting at the start? Because, like, it's like, doctors always remember a patient who they've told they're going to die, type of thing. But was it like, do you think you were armed already from your experiences that you weren't going to be carrying things home with you, or did you find that adjustment difficult anyway?
I think I had to have done, the sort of spiritual work that I've done, because that brings home to you how, say if you're in a room with someone who's depressed and that's having an effect on you, well, that's not their stuff, that's your stuff. Your reaction is your stuff. So that's one of the things. And also, just being able to be with difficult feelings. I mean, if meditation doesn't teach you that, then what does it teach you?
Let me change then completely for a minute. I was going through the books there last night and something hit me about Athena, because one of your first experiences with chaos magic was scrying Athena. Did Athena pop up by herself, or did you go looking for her?
She popped up, and that was really surprising. I mean, yeah, like you said, that was about like one of the first magical workings that I ever did. I was thinking, well, see if I can get in touch with a divinity, because if I'm in touch with a divinity, then I can ask that divinity for stuff. And she'll give me stuff, and life will be lovely.
if only.
So what did I do? I think I did some salvia, which was legal at the time.
Yeah.
I chewed some salvia, and so I got a mildly hypnagogic state going. All these goddesses started to appear, and she stepped forward, and the vision I had was she was like a nun kind of sitting in a chair with a veil, and I was a bit disappointed, because I was hoping for some sort of like powerful, sexy goddess, Kali, Durga,
Athena was known for
I get this sort of
exactly.
I get this sort of virginal, quite serious, She sort of stayed around.
Yeah, because the next question was going to be then, because during, I think it was your first working with Tempe. Tempe said to you, keep working with Athena, but did you?
Yeah, she's been a kind of constant presence. She's always there. I don't really get it.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the main things maybe is, she's the goddess of philosophy, Greek philosophy, and of course that stuff's been really important. I mean, of course, with Alan's influence, I've found that stuff so useful, like the Neoplatonic stuff. I mean, I'd say that's my go-to sort of framework for thinking about things these days. So,
yeah, it's mad because we have a thing in common then, because my HDA calls herself Minerva. Minerva's the Italian, so that's weird. Like, I had no idea who Minerva was when I had worked with a girl called Minerva many years ago, and I got this name and some other things that were like, for sure this is for real, and then that just led me on a journey to find out more about her, and then I kind of realized, right, so if this is the sign of your true will, then my reading of it is that I should be, in a life or doing things that, I just stood on a fucking pin. That's a sign. What's she trying to tell me there? That I should be following a kind of lifestyle that is of the things that she was a patron of during the time. Now, I mean, at the same time, I don't believe that it is Goddess Minerva. I think she has taken this form to tell me, that's your true will, to do things connected with the arts, with poetry, writing, music. Well, I don't really do much music anymore, but, crafts and writing would be what I kind of do, So it's, interesting that we both had, she goes by a different name for us and means different things, obviously, because for you it's more philosophy, but for me it's the crafts and the writing. But
I can go a bit
very interesting. It's the same goddess.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Very strange.
I can go a bit deeper into that. It gets a bit personal, but we can do that. So she's also popped up more recently. I've been learning this particular form of therapy. It's a pretty not very well known one. It's called CRM, and it's a transpersonal form of therapy, and it involves a lot of visualization and sort of trance work. Sometimes you're kind of in effect leading the clients on path workings to find out more stuff about themselves. And I've been having that sort of therapy as well to get into it some more. And part of it is this thing called the power animal. I mean, you've probably come across the power animal thing. You go and find your power animal, and the power animal is there when you do these kind of visualizations. when you revisit your past traumas, the power animal's there as a support and a guide. So I was doing this power animal working with a therapist. You go through a visualization. You meet this animal, but it's not always an animal. So sometimes it's something from nature, sometimes it can be a spiritual being. And Athena turned up as my power animal, and there was a certain sort of relationship between us. So when I'm sort of processing difficult stuff, Athena turns up and she says, "You've got this." She says, "You don't need me. You've got this. Come on. Get on with it, sort it." And so it's like, she would push me forward to deal with stuff, and she would sort of take a step back. But then as soon as I got into difficulty, she'd be there.
Wow.
She'd sort things out. She'd help. Now, one of the things about the power animal and how it works in therapy is it seems to be related to the attachment system, how you form relationships. And I mean, growing up, I had a really comfortable, happy childhood, and I was shielded from a lot of stuff, probably too much. And it's almost like Athena, she represents what I didn't get in childhood, which was, being encouraged to be independent, take risks, go out, do stuff. And that's interesting. It's almost like she's there to activate the parts of me that I don't ordinarily rely on or go to.
Of course.
So I don't know, Spud. I mean,
that's funny.
Does that make,
speaking a lot to me there, man. There's a lot of commonalities I'm getting from that as well. I hadn't put that together at all. It's funny.
She's like the opposite of my mum. Yeah. If we're going to take a Freudian.
That's exactly what I was thinking, man. The opposite of my mother.
Yeah.
It's funny, anytime I do talk about her with other people who have had HDA experiences, they kind of peel back another layer of the onion. Well, not the onion, I shouldn't say onion. Onions are smelly and make people cry. I don't know. What's nice? It has layers. Banana. That only has one layer. That's terrible. Stop me talking, Duncan, will you? I'm an idiot. No, but it is fascinating. Anytime I do bring it up, because I mean, it's a private thing to bring up, and also like none of my friends know any of this, because it's like, yeah, lads, I've been talking to this angel. Well, she's not an angel. She's like non-duality. Well, she's duality. She's non-duality in the form of duality, but it's my higher self. You'd be like, what the fuck is wrong with you, man? How many disco biscuits do you have to take? Like, 7. When you do speak about with people who have had the HGA thing, and they put fresh eyes on it, and you're like, yeah, of course, mad. Thanks for that. That's wow. Yeah, you fucking blow my mind here now with stuff like that.
Yeah, but Minerva, I mean, that's interesting. So she's the sort of Roman manifestation.
Yeah, she's the Roman one, but the Romans took her from the Etruscans, I believe, and the Etruscans, I hope I'm saying that properly, they were around at the time of Peter Kingsley's friend. Is it Permedicles or Empedocles? Whichever one was living in Sicily. When he was living in Sicily at the time, the Etruscans were across the water doing their thing, and she was their goddess. She's equated as well. I was speaking to someone yesterday who's written a book about secrets called Secrets of the Druids, and she says that the Romans, when they were conquering Gaul, they equated Bridget with Minerva because of her crafts and poetry. And then also Sir Bridget is obviously a massive thing in Ireland, because she's our first native saint. But it turns out that she's far older than like St. Patrick. She was a Celtic god of far older, but she was Christianized because the Irish didn't have a saint. It was St. Patrick, and he brought the faith, but he wasn't Irish, so they needed an Irish one, and they just said, yeah, Bridget sounds cool, let's make Bridget. But like, she's based on this far older being, but she has the same kind of attributes. It's crazy. Yeah. We talk about we didn't mention the books at all, and I'm running out of time here. Your latest one, Even More Cult Experiments, Tommy is flying through that, and a couple of other lads on the Discord as well. When that came out this year, wasn't it? Yeah. So I decided to start blogging again this year. I think mostly is to do with lockdown, to be honest. I think one of the things about lockdown is brought home to us, I think, what's important. And I just couldn't stand not blogging anymore. I mean, I'd stopped, just because writing about magic, maybe doesn't sit too well with the therapy work. And, I've had some clients Google me, and some of them are a bit sort of surprised by what they find and aren't too keen on it. But then also I've had other clients Google me and they think it's great. So I think it all evens out in the end. So I was thinking, well, I've been working in that field for a while now, so don't think it does much harm. So yeah, started blogging again. Listening to a lot of podcasts, just getting back into the stuff I really love, the stuff that I've missed. So I started up the blog again, and of course this is like phase 2. I had the blog going for about 5 years before I shut it down, and just thought I'd bring all the stuff that was on the previous incarnation back, so it's there if people want to have a look at it. So that's what the book is basically. It's all the best bits of phase 1, and it's pretty experiential. I mean, I'm noticing like the blogging that I'm doing now, it's more reflective, more kind of philosophical, I suppose, rather than writing about experience. I mean, like a few weeks ago, I did I don't do sorcery that often now, but something came up, and
I cast a sigil to deal with it, and had this amazing result. And I was thinking, oh yeah, I'll write about this. But then I'm sort of thinking, well, who cares? It's like, oh, I did a sigil and I got an amazing result. So what? And I think I'm more interested now in kind of the philosophy, the questions behind it. Why do you use sigils? Who says you have to use them in that way? Those sort of questions. Where does this stuff come from? But the book, the stuff in the book is more experiential. Which is more that I was writing about back then. So there's articles about goetic demons, jinn, tantric stuff, talking to dead people, and how you might want to approach those sorts of things. So that's what the book's about.
There was one that really caught my eye from 2019, the Archangel Raziel.
Yeah.
That's what got you interested in trying to do a work like that?
Yeah, I can't remember now. He popped up. Just remember finding him really interesting. Never heard of him before. But this idea that he sits by the throne of God and he's basically the ears of God. So
he takes notes, doesn't he?
Yeah. So he
Noah and Enoch.
Yeah. So he reports back to God, but he also reports down to humanity as well. I mean, the myth is that after Adam and Eve were expelled from paradise, he came down with a book of secret wisdom. It's sort of like, hey, are you two? You'll be needing this. Don't tell him. Don't tell him I gave this. So just struck by interesting figure. So he's up and he's down, and between heaven and earth all the time, and he sort of like gives us backhanders of knowledge. So did some work with him.
So what were you doing there? Were you this is a word I find quite impossible to say, channeling him, and then you had a dictaphone going at the same time, or was it?
Yeah, that sort of stuff. Yeah, basically, put a bag on your head, go into a trance, and just see what happens. And some of the stuff that came down was quite interesting. Coming down as sort of like short stories. That was quite interesting.
Mad, isn't it? What's your opinion on these entities? Because I don't know if you listen. At the end of last year, we did something for the conjunction. We had a chat with Aeon, Tempe, and we tried to scry one of the ethers as well. And that kind of what surprised me was that I was saying this to Tommy as well. I'd like to know your opinion on this. What kind of surprised me was that Aeon was using my words in terms of phrases. So that kind of annoyed me at the time, because I was like, this thing is way smarter than me. Why the fuck is it using my limited vocabulary? But then also at the same time, it was like, well, thank fuck he's not speaking in Aramaic, because that would have helped, And because and then obviously I go back and I read back over you and Alan speaking with Tempe, and I think I had similar experiences in the visions and the kind of how to explain it, the kind of aloofness of him, that he was above all this. But there was no, you were getting numbers and tarot cards and stuff. I was getting none of that. But I think the only way I can see it, and Tommy was the one who said it to me, he's like, well, obviously he's going to use the tools that he have. Even though I do tarot divinations with the HGA numerology stuff, I had just never dabbled in. So I don't know. Maybe it's just saying, he doesn't know anything about this, so I'm not going to use it. Whereas that you obviously had dabbled quite a lot in that. I don't know. I really don't know. It's a very strange experience.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, my take on it is, my starting point is these entities do not exist. They do not exist. They have no existence. That's what spirit is. Spirit is what doesn't have form. Doesn't have form, doesn't exist. It's not there. So in order for it to take form, it has to, like you were saying, use what's there. So it doesn't exist. If you go into a trance, then how's it going to manifest? Well, it's going to manifest through your mind. It's going to manifest through your thoughts, through your feeling. That's my take on it. So, like you were saying, what you've got is how it will appear. So, if you've got tarot cards, if you've got runes, that's how it's going to manifest.
Do you think? Basically, I'm asking for permission. Can I do it some more, Duncan, please? No, but because I went in blind. I didn't go in blind. When I'm doing meditations and HGA stuff, I do tend to have quite a lot of visions, but I don't go looking for them. Whereas with the conjunction stuff we did, I had to go look for them. You know, well, not I had to go look for them. They came, but it was a different experience. Put it that way. But like, it's kind of one of these things where I'm a little bit cautious to learn too much about it, because then I'm preloaded with what I'm expecting to happen. You know, whereas like what I'm doing now is just like pissing into the wind and seeing what happens. You know, and so you know, what's the best approach? What were you doing?
Yeah. Well, of course, these things are going to use your words. They're going to use your thoughts, your resources. But what you're looking for is something unexpected. You know, you're looking for those moments when it doesn't feel like you. And I mean, like with the Raziel stuff that I did, you know, what comes through is the character of that angel, you know, which wasn't what I was preloaded with. You know, it was what was discovered through that work. So I mean, that's what you're looking for, I think, and it's ways of encouraging that to happen. So I mean, you know, what's your thoughts? What could encourage that to happen? I mean, for some people, it's like altered states, isn't it? You know, you go into an altered state, and then something maybe more unexpected is likely to arise from that. But of course, you don't have to do that.
No, probably. I mean, I was reading a book there a while ago called Inner Work, and it really explained active imagination.
Yeah,
that kind of opened my eyes to delving deeper into the subconscious kind of thing, and identifying, giving feelings identity, I suppose, is the way I say it. So say, for example, if you're watching telly and some program is on and you always react badly to it. Say, I don't know, for example, the Kardashians is on or something. The wife doesn't watch it. Anyway, well, just an example. And every time it's on, you're like, oh, that fucking idiots. And then saying to yourself, okay, who's saying that? And then it's peeling back the layers and giving that thing, that judgmental fucker, a name. And then you say, right, who are you? And it'll give you a name. All right, what's your problem? Because we need to work together. And if you're going to be judging people all the time, that's annoying. I don't like that, right? And we can have a better life together. And so in his book, he says, do these things, but then come to a kind of, come to an agreement on how you will move, kind of go ahead with this. So say, for example, one guy I had, he was, the agreement was, right, I'm not going to drink any beer for a few weeks, and we'll ritualize this. So I went to the fridge, opened a beer, poured down the sink, and says, that's for you. That's to show I'm committed to this. So he says that by doing these rituals with these entities, you're telling your subconscious, I'm noticing you, I'm naming you, and we're going to go. Am I making sense?
Yeah. It's all about letting go, isn't it? It's all about trying to find ways to really, really open up. Yeah. You know, and of course that active imagination is a really powerful technique and something you can develop, something you know, we get better at with time. Just being able to kind of really surrender into that process. And I mean,
that's the hardest one though, because the surrendering thing, because you know, you can say to yourself, yeah, I'll let go, no problem, but it's very hard. I mean, Jesus, for the first few months of the HGA, that's pretty much her message the whole time was, let go, it's okay, relax, and stop trying to control stuff, you know, just let life happen.
Yeah. I mean, you know, ultimately, spirit is what doesn't exist, you know, self doesn't exist. You're just trying to release yourself into that, aren't you? And let something come through. And I mean, descending into the unconscious. You know, maybe the unconscious is a level that's closer to this ultimate level, where the whole thing about me over here and that over there, you know, is less apparent.
Yeah, I would think so, maybe, because there's a guy there's a YouTuber called Uberboyo, and he has loads of videos about this left brain, right brain stuff, and it's fascinating. The experiments done with the left brain, I'm left-handed, the right brain, that kind of show that, well, there's something else in there that sees things the other side doesn't see. And it's what? So, and he kind of makes this thing that, right, well, your ego, your I is the soldier, but then in the background is the general, and the general tells the soldier what to do, and usually everything is okay, but sometimes the general gives the soldier signs that things aren't right, and it might make you feel sad. And why am I sad? And you have to kind of delve into that kind of. It's a fascinating way of looking at it, you know.
Yeah, I think the important thing is there's always got to be something unexpected, something you're going towards something, you know, more and more truth, more and more awareness of yourself. It's got to be taking you somewhere. That's what you're looking for, isn't it? And if you're not getting that, then you need to be doing something different. I mean, that's my take on it. So it sounds like you're going to be doing more spirit work then.
Yeah, I'm just a bit cautious about it, to be honest, Duncan, because I don't know enough about it, and I'm a little bit cautious to find out too much about it in case it puts me off, because it seems like fun. I mean, during the Conjunction podcast, the Aeon stuff was great. That was lovely. You know, it just felt nice. It felt warm. It felt loving. It felt real. You know.
Yeah.
I find it kind of hard to put into words, but the Aether thing didn't go right at all. That didn't feel particularly good. But we've both realised that we weren't really ready for it. We just kind of did it for shits and giggles rather than, you know, taking it seriously. We're like, you know, well, podcast is a year old. This is the solstice, or is it solstice? 21st December, and so let's just do something mad. So it's the first time me and Tommy had done proper green magic together. We've done some ghost box stuff before in Ireland, but to do workings, kind of clairvoyant workings or whatever it is over the internet, it's a strange thing to do. So I don't know, it's kind of at the minute I think I should kind of concentrate on the awakening. I don't know what this podcast is supposed to be about. You don't. The listeners are sick of me. You know? I think we can finish up then. I don't have anything else written down other than I want to ask you, why have you got the two other books, Liber Pisces and Liber Detritus? Why have you got that under a pen name?
Because they're more weird than the other stuff I write about. Yeah, so Liber Pisces is basically some active imagination work around how to communicate with the dead, what the relationship is between the dead and the living, and how you can work with that. And that was something that I did earlier this year. Noticing, I don't know whether it was connected with lockdown or something like that, but just noticing over the last year, it's felt for me that the dead have been particularly active, and I just sensed that there was some work to do there to find out a way to be able to listen to the dead more. You know, and of course it's a big thing in Jung as well, isn't it? So yeah, that book is about my approach towards that. I mean, there are a few years, you know, when me and Alan weren't doing stuff together anymore, and you know, I was sort of not feeling such a sense of direction in my life, where I was just kind of waiting for something to come along, waiting for things to form, and like Liber Detritus is you know, a book where I'm just waiting, looking for signs, looking for something to emerge. More a kind of art project, perhaps, than you know, something specifically magical. So that's why those two books are under different names.
Cool stuff, right?
Yeah.
Can leave it there then, Duncan. Thanks very much for taking the call. I was telling you over the emails that you know, I felt like I wrote the email, I was rambling halfway through, and I'm like, I'm already sounding like a little fucking fanboy here. But look, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for the Baptist Head. I'm getting all tongue-tied now, I'm nervous. Thank you so much for the Baptist Head book, because they've been so inspiring for me and just really kind of opened my eyes to where this delving into the consciousness, subconsciousness and magic, and where it can all lead to. So you and Alan are a huge inspiration for me personally, and for Tommy as well. We're always talking about this on the podcast, you know, so thank you very, very much for them. And yeah, man, I hope we can chat again when the next book comes out.
Absolutely, yeah, it's brilliant. Thank you, Spud. And you know, just paste it. Just keep doing the work. Just keep pasting it and see where it goes. And you know, do amazing things and write about them and podcast about them. And yeah, I look forward to seeing what you do.
Oh, and yeah, I didn't ask. Give us your website and anything, social media, anything like that you want people directed to.
Yeah, the blog's oeith.co.uk. Occult Experiments in the Home. OEITH.
Magic. Yeah, literally magic. Right. Thanks, Duncan. Bye.
See you soon. Bye.